And it's good to see everyone again this morning, or morning for me. It is 8:30 in Washington, D.C., and it's great to look out into the Zoom screen and see so many of these Magical Riso Octopus sweatshirts. Makes me jealous that I don't have one on now. But again, to everyone, welcome to day 3 of Magical Riso, number 4. Today we will continue our deep dive into the wonderful Magical Octopus book that contains so many amazing work by all of you. Before we begin, some quick notes. As Yo mentioned, this is a Zoom webinar that is also being streamed on YouTube. If you're in the audience, you'll be able to send us questions in Zoom via the comment section or through the Q&A window at the bottom of your screen, or in YouTube through the comment section. All that will flow towards me. For the panelists, although we had previously asked you to keep your microphones on mute during the conversations, if you do have something to contribute, please be unafraid to jump in and ask the subject if you have any questions or comments. As your moderator and interviewer, I'll be keeping time as best I can. Our goal is to keep the time to 3 hours in length for each day. We've almost made that mark a couple times, and we'll try again today. Once more, as we get started, I want to thank Yo Franken and the team at the Van Eyck, Alicia, Marguerite, Anne, Leva, Hamid, and Meek for all their efforts in making Magical Riso 4 happen. Each day I'm feeling increasingly fortunate to be able to speak with all of you, dear members of the Riso community, so thank you for this opportunity. And we have another full day today. Conversations, studios, and catering from the island of Mull. Today, we will start with an interview with Handsaw Press in Japan, then an interview with Cabinet Studio in Belgium. Following these, Miek Zomburn has some poetry for us, and from there, we'll take a 20-minute bio break. After I've refreshed my cup of coffee, I'll be speaking with Endless Editions in the US and Quintal Editions in France. Miek Zomburn will join us again for another round of catering, presenting a tasty pepper dulce-hung curd. Our final interview of the day will be with Rom Press in Spain. From there, we'll open up the conference for closing discussion with all of our panelists and final Q&A from the audience. So again, thank you all for being here and being present with us. And we're going to be bringing on Handsaw Press from Japan, who have stayed up all night to talk with us.
Hello.
And,
Hello.
Nice to meet you. By way of an introduction, I do want to introduce you all by reading a little bit about your studio from the book itself. Handsaw Press is managed by a group of unique members: an architect, a cook, an interior designer, and an illustrator. Besides the 3 risograph machines, the studio also holds a variety of woodworking tools. Handsaw Press wishes to open their studio and become accessible to as many people as possible, thus creating a platform where artists and printmakers can engage with one another and dive into experiments and have fun. So Handsaw Press, again, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started with questions, I would really love for the 4 of you to introduce yourselves to the public and also let us know what time it is in Japan.
Hello. So we are Handsaw Press. So my name is Ryoko Ando. I am an interior designer.
Hello, my name is Shinsuke. I am architect, designer, and cooker. Chef.
Excellent.
Hello, my name is Kota. I'm a graphic designer. I'm not really a member of Handsaw Press, but I'm contributor of this project.
Hi, I'm Yuri, and I'm not also a member of this studio, but a friend, and work together.
Yes.
Great, I'm so glad that all of you can be joining us.
So we founded Handsaw Press 3 years ago. So we were neighborhood friends collective. So there are 3 founder. So me and he, so one more founder, so moved out from Tokyo to Kyoto. He lives in Kyoto now.
Okay.
So he opened new lithograph studio in Kyoto. So he had an old lithograph machine. So
in his restaurant.
so he was a owner of a small restaurant.
Okay.
So he had an old lithograph machine in his restaurant. So we often use his lithograph machine.
After close restaurant, we printed sometimes.
So we want to make our lithograph studio near our place. So we looked for the cheap rental fee space. So we could find. So we started to open lithograph and open DIY studio. So our main job is interior and architect. So we often use a woodworking tool. So we want to have a lithograph studio and a woodworking studio.
Yeah.
So the Hanso Press is not only lithograph studio, but also DIY woodworking studio.
Yeah, it's
So-
incredible that you have all of this equipment in one place for you to be utilizing, and then also very generous to open that up for workshops to have other people use the facilities as well. I also wanted to ask you, maybe a good way to jump into the book project is to also ask about all of your contributions to the Magical Octopus book, because these spreads you've put together are wonderful. They're playful, they're complex. At times they reference the language of comic books. And I feel like it does capture the sense of play and community and openness that you discuss in your mission statement, but also in how you describe the studio itself. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this contribution to the book came together?
So at first, we invite some collaborator, so she and he. So so we are interested in the making with others. So we invite some collaborator.
Yeah, first of all, we are kind of invited from them to the project, but there's no plan yet. So we just want to make 8 pages with lithograph, but yeah, there's kind of one thing about the octopus, but yeah, nothing was kind of set up yet. So we just talked together and yeah, making a kind of plan for the 8 pages.
One of the things that I really loved about the 8 pages that you've produced is that in the book, there's a mention of opening up the studio to drawing sessions with sea life that you found in Tokyo Bay. And I love that you're also able to incorporate some of the community sessions into the book itself. It's a great way to acknowledge how the work was made in the publication of it. Can you tell us a little bit about how these sessions were set up? and how they function.
Oh, okay. So can I show some pictures?
Yes, please.
So first we went to the fish market. So I don't know. So I can buy the living octopus. So
This is the researching about octopus to get the inspiration as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, just to see what's going on. Then we just got so excited to see those octopus, and finally we could buy the one alive octopus at there. This is it. And I'm a photographer, so I'm so sorry that's octopus, but I wanted to take a picture.
Yeah.
And already we decided to
So-
eat after shooting. So
next we try to
this is the
dig
ocean.
ocean. So digging the clam.
Yeah, because we got the inspiration about like an ocean and the sea, and we have to know more about the sea creature. So then I went to that digging a crumb, and I brought them to studio and invited other people. I mean, invite the friends of a friend and friends of a friends of friends and kids, and have a party and have a workshop to researching as well
yeah.
by kids.
Do some sketching with everyone.
Wow.
So not only
So,
octopus.
So not only octopus. So next, so we went to the fishing shop for fishing octopus.
Fishing gadget shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Many things.
we made handmade board, hook for fishing. Bait,
Fake bait.
fake bait.
Yeah, bait or lures.
So finally we went to the sea.
Yeah,
Tokyo
Tokyo
Bay.
Bay.
We tried to fish octopus.
Yeah, I'm also surprised about like in Tokyo people can do fishing, so you might be so surprised as well.
Yeah, huge people.
So where are you at here? Where are you fishing at?
South of Tokyo. It's not so far away from
Studio.
Shibuya or other like Shinjuku, the center of Tokyo.
Okay.
Handmade.
Handmade.
So
And one of them fishing octopus at there.
so he's our friend.
Wow.
So he's
Yeah.
his friend too.
All right, good. Several success stories in octopus catching.
Yeah. We could get a small 2 octopus.
To
Wow.
bring to studio. So many?
So brought to the studio. So we hold the workshop.
Also, we again went to the fish market as well. That if we didn't success to get any octopus, so there are no octopus, so we went to get more bigger octopus as well for party.
Yeah.
And one of the collaborators made it those cuisine, so the curry or takoyaki or other
Jack
stuff,
octopus.
and jack octopus.
Oh, that's all.
That's the
This is
process.
incredible.
Yeah.
And again, what I was immediately struck with your contribution for the book is how well it brought together the sense of community, the sense of play, and the importance of a good meal to the production of artwork. And I really appreciate how you're able to pull all of this together into your regular production. And it's incredible to see so many people getting together to do drawings and to make good food, and how much of those drawings you're able to then fold back into the book itself. So it's incredible work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
And it's
you.
great to see this large context of your dedication, going fishing to get some of the small octopus yourself. And I feel like it's also very wonderful that the prompt for this book has drawn so many people to their own bodies of water in a way to get closer to the source material that Meek provided from the island of Mal, which is a very different body of water. And we could very easily just kind of get lost in talking about the amazing work that's in here. And I want to get back to it, but I also want to give a chance to talk about how this was produced in terms of your studio. So maybe some technical questions is like, what kinds of machines are you using for this? If you're comfortable with talking about how the color breakdowns worked at all.
Okay, we're going to do the kind of guide tour.
Sure.
And
Video?
in short.
ちょっと音声に切り替える。Sorry.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
This is what happens over Zoom.
This is our studio.
What kind of machine are you using?
What kind of machine?
We have two reservoir machine.
Number. Yeah. Risograph ME935W. And one more. There's another one. Is MD5650.
And so we have 22 dramas, 22 colors.
Oh, wow.
Much more.
So
The paper.
let's go next door.
The next room is the gallery.
So we have
This is meeting space. So many
Okay.
from corners, from nest. So nice works
Great. We can see so many of our old friends.
is here. And we have one garage for DIY
so
outside.
let's go outside.
This is our town. Very dark. So can you see? This is our garage. We make some furniture or and なんだろう woodworking
DIY.
Here.
Like,
Yeah. You're also able to make your own stuff there to facilitate the Riso equipment and
This
build out
is
your own space.
This is
House.
house
Whose house is
house for lithograph.
it? Really? Really?
So we have more one lithograph SD, so one single drum lithograph. So inside.
Really? なんで？
Yes,
Excellent.
yes. This なんだろう。This cabinet on the car. We go out to have a workshop with lithograph.
Oh, okay, so you can actually bring the risograph out to somewhere
Yes.
else and have another.
Yes.
That's incredible.
This
I
this
really
is
love the idea of
yes.
mobile Riso workshop.
Yes, this is one of the program of art festival. Thank you.
Yeah, this is incredible. Thank you so much for this tour. And actually, as you're getting resituated, George, Mishu Press, and Knust, there's some conversation about the generations of the machine. And while Handsaw Press gets reset, would you mind kind of speaking that to our audience, because the people at home can't see our chat within the panelists. And
there was some question about what an MD was, because I think those outside of Japan are unfamiliar with the MD model. And my understanding is that it's a Japan domestic version of the early MZ models. And then there was some discussion or some question about if the MD came out before the MZ that was available outside of, because it has like a slightly different visual language than the rest of the MZs that we all know. So that's an overview of the discussion. It's basically specifics about the model.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's a great insight too.
Real nerdy side chat.
Yeah. That's what people are coming to Magical Riso for. So I'm going to ask one more question to Handsaw, but I do want to make sure that everyone else in the panel and everyone else in the audience who have questions or comments, please put them into the chat or to the Q&A, and we'll open this up in a second here. Yeah, Handsaw, I wanted to ask about, if you have this huge space and you are interested in developing community interactions, opening it up for some larger DIY interactions. And I was wondering how things have changed for you over the past few months with the pandemic and limited numbers of people being able to gather.
We didn't change that much.
But and one festival, art festival, we make house for Riso and put on the car and go to park or outside of library, and we had a workshop, so we have to do the workshop outside because this situation. So
I absolutely love the idea of the Riso house and the solution of being able to put that onto a truck and bring it into a park for people to be be using. So I hope some people who are on this call and on this meeting can also find a similar idea to pull into the public.
Good.
We have a question from Knust, and they're asking if you're able to make your living from your Riso project and from Handsaw Press, or do you have other jobs as well that you do on top of this?
これだけで生きてますか
No,
They
no.
have another job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Everybody.
everybody have a main job.
So, but Riso is very fun, and we spend much for Riso. So it's difficult and double work, very busy. But we enjoy.
Good. Yeah, I know a lot of people here can relate to pulling several jobs together, and having Riso be one of them and printing one of them. Anki from Bergen Art Book Fair asks, when did Riso printing in the arts start to become popular in Japan?
いつポピュラーになり始めましたか
Maybe three years ago.
Almost. No,
Almost
about,
three.
So
about,
Yeah.
yeah.
for artists, lithography is for school.
So,
No, there's many lithograph in Japan, but it is not for
The artist.
artist.
public institution.
Educational.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, so
general,
it's still largely an industry tool.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But in these
And-
like 2 or 3 years, it's getting kind of popular. It's late, but it's kind of starting.
And Quintal editions, you have a little bit to expand upon with this, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and speaking to the crowd.
Oh, directly. Yeah. As it is the birthplace of Riso, I went to Taiwan last year and I saw very little Riso printed books because they get a lot of Japanese books there between China and Japan. There weren't a lot of Riso printed books, so I was looking up on the internet and only saw you and another studio somewhere else, and it was really hard to get other names of printing studios in Japan. So my question was, is there other studios apart from those that print just like regular jobs, but people that do like art books or zines, self-publications?
あんまりないけど、ないのって小さな本があんまりないし、台湾にいたら日本でいっぱいあったけど、あんまり見なかったけど、どんな感じ
We don't have kind of big market. We have like few small market over the kind of Japan, but we don't have like kind of main big market. So we need to kind of research and find out the small places to buy things. So that's kind of situation.
多分日本にスタジオはないから海外で作ってると思う。
So many artists in Japan make kind of Riso books in kind of outside of Japan. So in Japan, they have not really many studios, kind of few studios. So it's kind of, yeah, we have a kind of this illustration.
If you have the time, maybe at the end or tomorrow, to give us some names, I will be really interested to have some name of publishing house or artist that use the Riso. Will be great.
Okay.
Yeah, or even to type in some press names into the chat, and that would be a great resource for everyone that's in attendance in the Zoom webinar.
Okay.
And see, also, Meek had a really good question as well. Meek, do you mind jumping in and?
Yeah, well, this is really lovely to see how how everything is interwoven as well. Like the food, having that, eating it, sharing it together, and having that forever in a booklet or on a drawing or on a painting. I was wondering if you also do cookbooks, or is the cooking more a live event that you do and then share the food with the community, or are you working on a series of cookbooks, for example?
Do you mean just a specific octopus book or a more general cookbook, you mean?
Yeah, no, more general. If the cooking around other projects that you do, if they are if they are kept in books, or if they are more live events.
He wants to make more because he is a chef and very into cooking, so that he really wanted to make that new project.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have a Jamaican restaurant in Tokyo. I want to
Okay.
book. So
Why Jamaican in Tokyo? Why is that?
Good question.
I don't know. But I like reggae music.
That's a good reason, yeah.
So your works and many works and residence and cook and poem and research. We wanted to same attitude to make this book. So we did research and drawing. So very different place. Here is very concrete jungle. So I wonder what we make from far from you. Do you know? Do you
Well, I don't know what you. Well, when I saw your contribution and now also all your documentation, it felt very close, like making your own lures and making the baits and going out for fishing and trying to get some shells from the beach. That's all what we do in the summer, almost on a weekly basis. But yeah, you succeeded in fixing all these animals on a very beautiful, soft way in the publication. That's really great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I have one question about one word you used. You used the word hunt. Did it feel? I was wondering, did it feel like a hunt you were doing in the harbor?
What do you mean? The hunting?
狩りしてる
狩りしてる気分があっ
yes. Hunting.
Yes, fishing is hunting. Yeah, excited about hunt feeling in nature. Oh, hunting.
So,
Kidding.
when I killed the octopus
In studio.
in studio, I have to research the quickly kill without suffering.
Yeah. Could we ask how you did it? Because I think it's good to know how you did it. I don't think anybody will know how you can kill an octopus, or maybe we don't want to know. We don't want to do it, but it's. I wonder, how that happened.
Oh. With knife?
Between.
So.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
We could not do it, and we are so
No,
suffered.
it's very hard to do.
We had to do it, and he did it. That was like.
But you did it for a good reason. You made beautiful work out of it.
Yeah, and it's great also to have an amazing chef who knows how to quickly and properly handle the animals and make sure everything is done in a humane fashion.
Yeah, we just a little story from here. We had a roadkill accident just before Christmas last year with a hare. So we were in the car and we were actually admiring a hare which was on the left side of the road, and then suddenly it was under the car, and it was really, we were so sad, and we did not first know what to do, and we were really like angry and everything in between, and then we took it, and we took a lot of time to first to look at it, and then to take it apart, and then to cook it on a very very dedicated way. And then we kept the fur because it was such a soft beautiful material, and we just were able to make some recordings on the beach. It's still not allowed here to come together on the beach, but with some time frames in between, we invited some poets from Mull to read the poems on the beach, and then we could suddenly use the fur again to make this fluffy thing for around the microphone against the wind. So first then we felt a bit more okay about the hair.
Hair?
Like a rabbit.
Hair. Rabbit, a bigger rabbit.
Okay.
Okay.
Rabbit.
Well, thank you, Meek. That's an amazing story.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story.
And I'm sorry to say, but I think we are going to have to move on from this question and answer session. But Hands Off Press, thank you so much for staying up late for us and for showing us your space. This was really incredible. And I'm always happy to see some more interactions between all the panelists. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And before we move on to Cabinet Studio, I did want to mention Alice had sent a question to all the panelists that I think would be really good to address at the end of the day. So I am going to read it out now, but ask that we pin this for later. I'm sorry, from Nicholas. Nicholas asks, how is the relationship between artists and the risograph company, as it is very different from country to country? So something to think about for the end of the day. And Nicholas, I hope that you can stick around for the rest of it. And one other, not question, but comment that came over through the Q&A window that I just want to put out to the rest of you, because I think that it brings up a couple good points. And then we'll marinate on that and address it later. But but our good friend Anonymous says, this is really just a far-fetched comment and not a question. Looking at this presentation and the research into going and looking at the octopus made me think about the very nature of octopus and what incredible creatures they are as we keep learning. And I got thinking about octopus ink, which is not really ink, but is read and framed so by humans. And in fact, has historically been used for writing and drawing besides food. But the first day as well, there's a lot of conversation about riso being an ecologically sound medium for printing, and wondering if any of the contributors made those associations in reference to the octopus. Also to think of this ink as a means of self-defense, whereby it becomes a metaphor for self-defense, of care, of protecting, and how that can add to conversations that plague us today. So thank you for that comment. And I think by putting that out there, we can also maybe come back to it at the end of the day and just keep thinking about it. Great. So thank you, everyone. And we're going to be pulling Cabinet Studio into the hot seat. Freya and Anne, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And as I've been doing with everyone, just to give everyone some background information, I have the text from the book. And Cabinet Studio is a creative studio based in Antwerp. The team's attention revolves around risograph printing and graphic design, with a passion for the tactile feeling of paper and dazzling color combinations. Cabinet Studio produces both analog and digital design works, self-initiated or client-based. So again, thanks for joining us. And are you in the studio now?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Do you want to show us around the space a little bit, or do you want me to just start throwing questions at you?
We can show around the space, maybe?
Yeah,
but
please.
We actually have one question too. Before we start off, we want to ask Jo, where is his sweater?
I said it in the beginning, there were too many extra large colleagues in the world. So I have a hard time finding another one. So I do my best.
Actually wearing it.
So yeah, risograph printers are quite large, I think.
We do need to eat a lot.
Tomorrow I will do my best for tomorrow.
All right, we can show around. So here we have our paper stock, some books, our ink, and we have here a small shelf with with examples of things we printed in the past, and our little GoCo machine, the GoCo we started working with first before we had a Riso printer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very funny. We have a little library here also for our graphic design work. We have this awesome book that many people have. The Magical Riso of 2016. And this is our workspace. Very interesting, with a beautiful view on the garden.
Beautiful view.
It's awesome in the summer and winters also. Very rare in Antwerp. And our Riso printer. Yay.
And what model is that? Just so we can keep up with the
There's a
numbers.
and that's 1070 Riso. It's
Great.
a color drum, which is quite nice to work with. And here we have another machine. It's a Gesetner 300 that we found on Tweedehands. It's a second-hand website from Belgium, I think. Yeah, from Belgium. And we bought it actually because at Yamanek, I did a residency there. And I did a project like the full year on the mimeographs of the Yamanek. And I wanted to continue on this project, and I can maybe do a little show. The sound is a bit annoying.
Oh, wow.
So that's nice. And here are also some other examples of posters and little cards we did. We do actually a lot of cards, I think. Yeah, that's really a thing in our studio. And posters.
That's great. That's a wonderful space. Thank you so much for giving us a tour.
Thank you.
And I did want to ask also specifically about your contribution to the Magical Riso book. I love the process you set out and laid out for us. It's using a grid and a few specific rules to dissect the source imagery. And it's also an immediate way to start working with color and texture while abstracting the information that Meek provided. Can you tell us a little bit about how you developed this process and what your internal rules were?
Yeah, we can talk about that. To start off, that also as said in the introduction of the book, that we work with a sort of system, and I think we immediately came to that plan because of our background of graphic design. Maybe we're not illustrators, so from graphic design, I think we went into this system. And we played them with the idea of the number 8 of the 8 tentacles to find out a system with, for example, 8 images that we used. And we were very attracted to the beautiful images Meek provided us. And also the encyclopedia illustration, they were so beautiful. So we really saw the opportunity to work with it. And also with the details in these images, like we also in our other works, we like to close up things, like zoom in really, really far to have more an abstract composition. And at first we have some leftovers. We worked with CMYK, color splitting.
Oh, wow.
But then we thought maybe it's not challenging enough because it's just CMYK, it's hard, but it's more obvious maybe. And then we thought, oh, we have 8 colors. That was a coincidence. Apart from black, of course, that we have 8 colored colors. And then we played off with splitting the colors, like printing orange, the green, and how would that be combined? So that was that result. And then we thought of putting all this stuff, like the 8 images, the 8 colors, how it can be put into a system. And then we came up with a canon ID that we start with 2 images and 3 colors. And on the next page, one image is gone and another comes in. So one is still there and another blends in with it. And also with the colors, that you start with 3 colors. On the second page, you leave 2 colors and another color comes in. And so the whole circle can be completed. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea of almost like seeding the images with elements from the one before it as a way to keep this thing moving.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And we also thought, like, if you end with page 8, you can also start with page 1 again. So the circle is around, and that's also something we like, that it's complete or something.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And the grid is like an immediate way to dissect and pull images apart as well. Yeah. And you mentioned that you went through this, or you came to this probably from your background in graphic design. And I was wondering if you could each maybe elaborate on that. Like, before Cabinet Studio, what were you doing? How did you come into graphic design? And for that matter.
We studied together graphic design at St. Lucas here in Antwerp, and we were classmates for the entire time almost. And we actually started working together and starting Cabinet Studio, I think in 2016. In 2016, because we went to an art event together, and we were so inspired, and we began to talk about print and how we, found out that we like print so much. I know from Freya, but maybe not in the same level as I do now, or as I discovered then. And for Freya, the same, I think. So we started designing together, but we didn't have any printing opportunities like Riso yet. And then we found this Goko machine on eBay, which was like the starting point for getting into Riso. And then we were invited to come to Magical Riso from 2016, like to be a guest, like many people did. And the funny thing was that we were constantly thinking, oh, we should have a machine like this. How can we buy this? Maybe in 20 years of designing, we can buy it or something. But the thing was that in the evening there was a lottery. I'm blushing when I tell this. There was a lottery to win a Riso printing machine, and we won it. So that's really great, and I'm still very laughing with that. We're still quite happy and still cannot believe it actually that it made our studio like 10 years further or something, like, yeah. And
that's incredible, and
yeah.
such an amazing thing to win. And Alice has mentioned that she was with you when you found out that you won.
Yeah. And also Sigrid, she filmed it, I think. Yeah, and there was a scream on the video.
How do you think that having access to the machine, did that change your design work at all? Or how you constructed images, just having the physical object with you?
Can you say it again?
Yeah. I was wondering if having the physical object with you in the space, the machine itself, and the way that it processes images, did that in turn change some of your design work and how you approach graphic design?
Yes, in our daily practice, because of winning the machine also, it came all moving faster what we can do with it. And we think that the design in the Riso, or the graphic design part of our studio and the Riso, that they affect each other. Design experience affects the Riso process, but also the Riso printing affects our design process because of, we think it's important in our graphic language to try to involve the print and the paper from the beginning so that we have a tactility, and we try to design it in brandings, but also in little cards. We think it all fits together, and it's important what people see and get in our hands. And we start with a visual language. Sometimes we start with printing to become the right visual language. And we have a project we did, I think 2 or 3 years ago, like the circular office. And it's a little bit a commercial job for a client, but the first thing we tried was how can we make a circle that expands, and how we can print the invitation cards with our Riso printer. We like to do all the things in-house, like the printing, the cards, and the design. So it was trial and error with a circle to print a nice fading out circle. It was
also how to use it digitally.
And when we found out how the circle works on the paper and how it works with the text, we put digital and we put it on different sizes, and it works nice together to have the same tactility in print as in digital. So we like to see the overall concept together. Yes, I think.
That's great, thank you. And so you're taking on clients, you are producing work that's self-initiated, that is your own, and you're also working collaboratively with other artists. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the at-home series that you have on your website. And first, to just give us an overview of what the at-home series is, and also how you're selecting the artists that you're working with and how you work with them.
Okay. We were a lot of thinking before Corona, maybe. We thought it's nice to have a web shop with posters or cards, but it was also because of the self-initiated project, something in our mind, and we have to develop it. But then there was a first lockdown in Belgium in March, and the Riso machine was quiet, but also for the artists and illustrators, designers here in Belgium, it was not that easy. So we thought maybe we can ask illustrators and designers to design some posters we can sell on our web shop, and also 50% goes to them, because there's a lot of work that was not happening anymore. And we made a technical sheet, so to print a Corona proof the posters we did by ourselves. Normally we love to do it together with the illustrators, but that's not that possible. We did Corona proof signature session, so there's personal posters as a limited edition, and we thought everyone was really enthusiastic about it, because it was, some people had time to develop a poster or design a poster, but also we had the time to print and to ship it. And it was a nice collaboration, and we also select people who are also known with the risograph, but also students, or for some people it was the first time to make a poster for a risograph print. So it was, yeah, it was nice,
a nice mixture, yeah.
Mixture of styles in our web shop.
And how was it working with people who did not use the risograph before in this situation? Because I'm sure that the distance that is necessary makes it a little bit difficult to perhaps explain how things work.
Yeah, as said, we made a technical sheet, so how they deliver the files, and we did some little calls, or we helped them with the files, the pre-press, how to manage it, but it was good that they learn also at home how to make the pre-press good for the Riso graph. And yes, the name of the At Home series, it was, yeah, everyone has to be at home, but also for working, also for living, for everything that happens. So still today, we like to share the idea of brighten up your home, to have a nice colorful poster with the nice illustration. Yes.
Yeah, no, and I want to specifically ask you about that, because it is such a great way to continue working with people during the pandemic. And I think, you know, a project like At Home, or even the Hatto project from yesterday, where they're mailing these collage kits to people and hand saw with their amazing Riso truck they can take out into parks. Like the idea that people are coming up with great ways to stay connected with a larger community and also support them through the production of artwork is really important. And I want to highlight that work that you two are doing, because that's an incredible thing to make for the community, and to make sure that you're also able to support the artists that you like working with.
Yes, here in Belgium, I don't know it's also in the other countries, but here is now a lot of buy local, support your local artists. Before we started, it was not that common, but now it's if you say it's like an Antwerp or a Belgium artist, then everyone is happy, and maybe they want to buy from our webshop, but also support the artist. And we like the collaboration and to work together with them to share the projects.
To really have not an anonymous way of buying and selling like big companies do, but really more people can come and get their order here, or we can, if Corona approved, or have a little chat, or we hand it over at the door, or we put also on the mail, but it feels more like human to human or something.
Yes, the first day with the First Deliveries, we did a bike tour with all the posters to give them personally.
A whole day.
But it works good, and it was nice to have a face also from the buyer, but also from our studio. And That's more personal.
Yeah.
Also, the prints are personal. So
Yeah, that's incredible. I love the idea of the bike delivery with that. And also, I wanted to ask you one more thing from earlier before we start to open things up to the audience or other comments from the panelists. You had mentioned doing a residency at the Van Eyck. Is that true? Is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that is or what that was like for you?
Ooh. I didn't see that coming. Yeah, it was great. Actually, when I was at the Van Eyck, I did work a lot in the printing space, but afterwards, like when I got out, let's say, and be at home afterwards, I realized that I didn't Riso print that much. Actually, I think you can confirm. I printed some more like tests or some posters, but I took more of the opportunity to silk screen there because that's the thing I cannot do at home. And to have the photopolymer printing technique and to work in a photo studio. Apart from the risograph, I learned it there. Like you taught me many things, but I didn't make a book what I was expected actually to do. But then I thought, okay, I can do it here in the studio, so which is also great. But yeah, it was a great time, and it really opened my personal work. So yeah, it's a really great period there. I still miss it.
I think it's also, as we were talking about a little bit yesterday, it is important to think about various ways of stencil printing, and screen printing is also one way to be doing that. And being able to open up your process toolkit a little bit so you have some other printing processes that you're familiar with. And I'm sure that also flows into the graphic design process and how you're considering constructing images.
Mm-hmm. And I think also for our graphic design that we love to work with Riso for graphic design clients, but sometimes the Riso print isn't the right fit for the project. So we're quite open to learn other printing techniques like letterpress or offset, and also play with the idea of, do we have the book here now? No. Playing with the idea how to separate colors, but then print in offsets, for example, or work with the Pantone colors, how we should also do it on the risograph, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure that also then gives you opportunities to work with other people in the area outside of your studio.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in Antwerp, there is becoming a sort of printing scene, but it's quite small comparing to the Netherlands. It's so close by, but in Belgium, there is not really a risograph scene, or it's more underground, which is more a zine scene or a graphic scene, but not really.
Yes, we see it now growing. Also on, we think social media is a good community for the risograph, and also there's more and more interaction also in other cities, but I think it's now growing.
It's growing.
Yeah, that's great. And that's something that, if you don't mind, I would love to hear you elaborate a little bit more on, because we have so many people joining us from so many different places, and it's all these little scenes, right? And just hearing that the risograph or like a publishing scene is not as large there as in the Netherlands is interesting and unexpected for me as an outsider. So how do you see it having had developed over the past few years, or are you able to trace that?
To trace it, I don't know, but there is one event. There are probably more, but one in Antwerp, like graphics. And I think there are a lot of unique printed books in risograph of other techniques. So we think it's growing, but there's not a community that works together. Maybe it's also separate, but I think it's more and more growing together.
It's also, as I can attach to that, it's also that we sometimes discover people with a Riso printer and they are in Antwerp, but they're just doing it in their bedroom or in their living room, and they don't really communicate to each other. So, and we found it sometimes a pity that we want to open it up a bit more, and apart from Corona, to be more an open workspace and to organize workshops and to educate a little bit. And also maybe to work with other risograph studios. And we know in Brussels there are two, I think, that are a bit bigger. And then you have in Antwerp the Afro studio, which is also quite big, and we work together sometimes. But it's not like we feel maybe in the Netherlands, like, yeah, it's different.
And Knus just asked about a few presses, and I think you just mentioned one of them, but also from me to you and Ches Rosie.
From me to you, I don't know.
Me to you.
Chez Rosie, we know.
But Afro, we know
he helps
us.
us.
Good contact.
Yeah.
He did my first Riso prints.
Oh, wow. And Quintal Editions asks, is there good communication in the Riso art book and zine environment, even though there's 3 languages in Belgium?
I think so. I think the language is English, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. We use English. Our French should be better.
That's a good follow-up also with the narrative content and typesetting and things like this.
Yes.
I have a question, if that's allowed.
Yes,
Do
please.
You hear me?
Yeah.
So I saw you have that nice Gesetner in your studio. So I'm just curious to know when you decide to use the Gesetner for a project or a risograph.
Mostly we use the risograph for client projects. I use the Gesetner for my own book projects. And then we did one workshop, like it was a big event. Actually, the event where we not met each other because we knew each other, but when we wanted in 2016, we talked about starting cabinets. On that event, how many? 4 years later then, or 3 years later, we were asked to host a workshop of 2 days, and we went there with 2 Gesetners, and we did a sort of newspaper project that was going on for the 2 days. So
all the participants of the event can draw or scan something, make a design, make a master, and then print it on the Gesetner. And so we had like 20 newspapers with news from the events or what the thoughts were of people about the talks.
So for yourself,
and
you use the Gesetner actually to relax it all from you.
Yeah, actually maybe. And I think maybe if Corona didn't happen and we could host the more workshop, we could have organized a workshop only for the Gesetner to go more with the older techniques, or I don't know, but it was a bit before Corona that we organized this other workshop. So
we still miss you here on.
Tears dropping. I will come for a silk screen. Marguerite?
All right. Well, I think at this point, Cabinet, we're going to release you and bring up Meek for our poetry spotlight. But thank you so much for showing us your studio and for being here and for all the work that you're doing. It's great to see more of where all this happens.
Thank you so much for having us and inviting us, because maybe if I can add one thing, I felt a bit like impressed to see all the names that were invited, and we only started in 2016, and even between the period that we started and now, I went a year to the Yamanek, so we didn't really start up our studio in that moment. So we were really glad to receive the email and that we got invited. It's really great. So.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful work. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right. And Meek, if you're still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
I'll turn this over to you.
Hello, everybody. Really nice to see you all again in our uniform. And apologies for the bad connection yesterday. That it was really frustrating. But the weather calmed down now, and I hope the internet will stay steady for this afternoon and tomorrow. Christopher, when you asked me yesterday how it is to see my poems transformed and duplicated in so many ways, I wanted to say how struck I am by the variety and the fluidity and the freedom. Diversity amongst creatives, I think, shows itself when there is a common ground, and then things start to untangle. But what I found most striking as well today again is to see and to hear your different attitudes towards the Riso machine. I think we have met the improviser who embraces the happy mistake, the survivor for whom the Riso is the only way to print, the educator introducing newcomers to the printing world, the professional who pushes the machine to the limit, the social hub who put the Riso machine in the center of social interaction, and the activists giving voice to the unheard. And I'm sure there are plenty more and all possible combinations of these. Through research for my books and my writings, I focused on many ways humans relate to their natural environment. Mountains, forests, gardens, rivers, and the next collection I show you now will be about the human connection to the ocean, of course. I think here we too can find this same spectrum of similar attitudes. So allow me to take you for a short trip into the deep. And in this underwater world, you will encounter professionals, improvisers, survivors, and educators as well. I will switch off my video and I ask Hamid to start the slideshow. So the next few images you see are glass models. They are made by father and son, Rudolf and Leopold Blaska, two German glassmakers. And this is especially for the issue press people. And they made these models to show the creatures of the sea to kids. It's a large collection of very detailed models that were sent to schools and universities to as study material. This is a sun down, as many faces at sea. Yeah, with every shipwreck comes a responsibility. Removing it is not always the best option. Shipwrecks can trigger immense growth and diversity too. These are the next ones are from a film by Jean Cousteau. He's called the father of the ocean preservation. And he said in 1979, the sea, the great universe, is our only hope. But he said as well, we must plant the sea using the sea as farmers instead of hunters to protect it. But if I'm watching The Silent World, this documentary from the same year, his research looks much more like a complete takeover from the ocean, a very science fiction like the vehicles, the diver army, the development of watertight labs on the bottom of the sea. Well, a few quite funny images from all kind of life jackets. Last one was already a Middle Ages design. Our Explorative nature and curiosity led to fantastic artworks and scientific discoveries, but the same attitude brings us to places where we do not belong and have quite a lot of influence. But still, I really love this one. The next one is the device used by the first underwater artist Eugène Razonin-Villet. It was weighted down with cannonballs, and he used his feet to move it and could stay underwater there for 3 hours. No idea what she is painting and where this portrait comes from. Well, the ultimate hold up for sailors, the Sargasso Sea, where the seaweed holds the ships. Here, the actual water is not visible, but very present in the movement of the seaweed. And depicting water itself is one of the most difficult and important challenges to preserve our oceans. I feel more and more. Well, now back to video. I would like to finish with actually a new poem. It's a English world premiere and a Portuguese world premiere as well, thanks to Michelle Hutchison and Ari Pos, who translated the poem. This summer I've had many dives together with another poet. He's called Seth Crook. He was one of the contributors to the Arandora Star lifeboat booklet. By him, I really learned how to look into the water. In the beginning, I just could see maybe seaweed and fish around me, but he started to teach me that there were still animals here and here and here and here. And this poem is for him, and it is about a swim we had together. A twin dip for Seth. Our backs turned to the horizon, feet watertight and as gutsy as carriages. A six in hand of shrimp pull them into the sea. Sand is churned up along the tide line. The water rises, probing calves. Our snow white, ink black legs are knee deep, shorter with every step. The stone cold sea bisect bodies. Above the surface, still human. Beneath it, obliterated, amorphous forms, swathed in the pleated skirt of the sea. Wrist at the right temperature, ribs still countable, chest obscured, shoulders, neck and chin submerged. At tree trunk tilts, lower body becomes fluid, arms become paddle wheel, legs a tail. Slowly floating above the carpet of sand, we flipper across tufted green threads. We cannot keep up with the invertebrates, aside from the glistering sea gooseberry. It's rush hour in the bay. Velvet crabs hurry against the reading direction. A cracked whelk moves along beyond the ledge, concealing the soft, asymmetrical abdomen of a hermit crab. Claws cut open a large razor clam. Another hermit sits down to join the meal, dishes up, solemn and greedy alike. You point out the immobile face of a camouflaged dep, whose left eye is still in the middle of its head. It looks at us, a sign to depart. Heading steadily to the island, we see the head dresses of feather duster worms planted in the seabed like funnels. Their tentacled crowns act like large jails, closing when evening falls. Our shadows set off the mechanism. They fall back in at once. Thank you.
Thank you, Meek. That was wonderful. We're very lucky. Every day you are both excavating images through your presentations and also conjuring images through your poetry. And it's these wonderful gifts that you keep giving us. You said this was the debut of this poem. Do you mind maybe telling us a little bit about the writing of it, or when was it produced?
It was produced a few weeks ago. I think I got it finished, and it is actually it's like a collage of a few swims we've had together, First, I wanted to write about a moment we kind of like a very beautiful, like almost like a miracle underwater. We met a jellyfish, a moon jellyfish, and Seth is really a good swimmer. He is not wearing a wetsuit, so he's really used to get to be in the water like an hour, but the water is 10 degrees. I have to wear wetsuit and gloves and socks, and so we were already on the end of a 40-minute tour, and then we met this jellyfish, and because he've met them before and did dare to come close, he started to reach out to one of the tentacles, and the jellyfish did react, not by going away, what most of the fish do, but it started to reach out its tentacles towards Seth, and they were just like doing a duet. It was the most beautiful moment of the summer, I think, for me, to see a human dancing with a non-human in a very, very subtle, joyful way. So that's, I thought, well, this is something so beautiful. The story will be about this, but I think it's too beautiful to write it down. So I started to leave that idea of the story and make a collage of more smaller encounters we had. So we saw this razor shell, which was also in the original material, and it was really like a dinner for these hermit crabs. They were really sitting with their arms on this long table, and that's also really something quite nice. If you are together in the water and you want to say something or you want to show something to each other, then of course the snorkel is in the way. So you start to develop your own, or well, it's a bit like a murmuring language. So you can explain or express yourself by a high sound or a low. So if we are excited, we just shout through these snorkels and then understand what it means. That's a whole new aspect of another language next to learning better English, and understand a little bit of what Gaelic, all the Gaelic that is lost here, and finding in Dutch words for new things I see here, and the underwater dialogue.
That's incredible, Meek. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing and for sharing your work here before we close off this section of the conference. And so at this point, I would like for all of us to be able to take a break, about 20 minutes, and we'll pull up the video of the book. So we're going to be looking at that. And when we return, we'll be talking with Endless Editions. And thank you again, Meek. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, see you in a little bit. All right, hello everyone, welcome back. Meek, I've heard several reports, both in the chat and outside, that everyone loves seeing the view outside of your window. It's pretty incredible. I'm so glad that your internet is working well today, so we can all join in that. All right, well, we are back after our break, and for this afternoon, we're going to be talking with Endless Editions, followed by Quintal Editions, another round of catering by Meek, and then we'll be finishing the round of interviews today with ROM Press before we open up to the panel and to the rest of the conference for some open Q&A sessions. And as we get things together, we have Paul John here from Endless Editions.
Hello.
And before we get started, PJ, I would like to just introduce Endless Editions, as I've been doing with everyone, with the text from the book, so we're all on the same page. Endless Editions is a publishing and curatorial project by and for artists. Based in New York City, Endless focuses on underrepresented and marginalized communities. So PJ, thank you so much for joining us. Where are you at right now?
I made it to my studio. This is the earliest I've been here since March.
That's incredible. I'm glad you were able to make the extra effort to get there earlier in the morning. So you're actually at Robert Blackburn right now, correct?
So I'm on 39th Street in the Riso room right now, but the print shop is one floor below. And I can, if the cell service works okay, I can do a quick tour down there as well.
Excellent. And before we get started with my questions, you did have a slideshow for your contribution to the book and also for the studio as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have like a quick little, no more than 3 minutes presentation about the contribution to the project and some context behind the contribution.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so it was really interesting. I always love these projects where like a pitch deck is kind of given to everybody and you have to interpret it yourself. I find that these projects like result in like a wide array, which this book clearly shows. And unfortunately, I was pretty busy in the summer, and I apologize to Joe and all of the people who worked on the book for my contribution coming so late, and also being one of those who didn't follow the template. But as I was making the books, basically I had taken a little bit of my photo practice, kind of creating these dreamlike or blurred photographs and using the source material to overlay them and kind of obscure them. And then also taking the poetry elements that Miek had written and collaging them to be translated into Riso prints as if an octopus was operating the machine and kind of handling the source material. So, underwater, things become very dreamlike when you're looking, and so the images become blurred and overlaid. And also the Riso machine, thinking about different parts of the machine as like tentacles and like the cylinders being these different arms that produce various textures when Risos are being primed up. So I kind of wanted to highlight the uniqueness of Riso buildup images, like the first couple prints, which you can see here. These are like the first 3 layers of an image that are being proofed. And later on, they become more realized. And so here you can see like some cutout elements from the poems and an initial proof that Joe so pointedly showed was not following the guidelines. So it was a good kind of reflection. I was just playing with the images and realizing that they weren't exactly what I wanted. And I was kind of grabbing the collage elements and scanning them across the glass of the Riso to create like a kind of warped or octopus sliding tentacle kind of sticking to the glass and dragging these words along. And it was kind of influenced by like other work I was doing at the time, which was making this book by Jordan Nassar that was a really laborious cutting job where I was cutting all these curves with a razor blade and kind of emulating that movement of like a tentacle moving across. So using that kind of movement across the glass to represent the prints as well. And this is just like an image of all the colors that kind of also influence Riso printing. And here's an example of Jordan's book. And just for context of like the photographs that I take and how that influenced the imagery that I made for the contribution of the book, I shoot on film cameras and often shoot the roll, rewind it, tuck it away, and load it at another date or sometimes immediately and kind of shoot these distorted images. And I never take notes of like the content of the film. So it really is kind of the shooting the photo isn't the end result. It's mostly kind of going back through the photos and trying to identify where these photos were taken, and then kind of understanding the visual language that's being built around these photos, and then creating longer narrative formats, usually in a book format. But recently I've been playing with just printing them as individuals. And here are the final press sheets that did follow the guidelines of the project. And you can see that I've taken that Riso texture from that original first proof and kind of overlaid it the image onto the images, and also and also used other marks as well. So that was just like, that was 3 minutes, 4 minutes, not bad.
Yeah, that was great. And it's amazing to see your process, not only the process that you use to put together the book, but as you said, like work bleeding into other work and working on Jordan's book and seeing how those cut marks can affect what you're doing. And I loved also seeing those initial marks of the Riso being scanned back into the process, into the imagery as a negative space. Like that initial buildup of the ink then becomes this deteriorating factor in the final images, which is really fun to see. And we've now come up with, we were talking before about the machine view, the Riso machine looking at imagery through the glass of the scanner. And you're now also introducing Octopus View to the octopus moving over the ground.
I also think an octopus would probably be really good at running Risos. You know, they'd probably be so much more efficient than us, you know, using our 2 legs to walk back and forth to get like drums. Like the octopus would just be operating like 5 machines at once.
They have all the appendages, and they can also get into all the little pieces of the Riso whenever it breaks down.
They wouldn't have to network anything. They would just plug in directly.
Yeah. The aspirational octopus for all of us.
I really appreciated the deck as well, like the source material, because, you know, I think with the shutdown in New York City, I found a lot of solace in going back to nature. So it felt, even though we couldn't gather in indoor places and experience culture together, at the very least there was Mother Nature to entertain us all, like hiking and just going to the beach and other things. So, and I think in cities and in 2019 past, it was really easy to forget that we had such an incredible amount of entertainment, or you know, such an amazing resource available to us that's like diminishing very quickly. And I had just finished watching that David Attenborough Last Testament, and it was just kind of, you know, really a beautiful reminder of like how incredible we can feel alive with without all this mediation and hustle and bustle. So appreciate it, Mia.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. And PJ, you kind of mentioned this, or you kind of talked about this already in your presentation, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was your photography practice, because you have been producing a number of books with it, and sometimes in collaboration with other people. Like you recently produced a book with Seb from Resolve. And I know that you do have a history in printmaking, but I wonder how those two practices inform each other, or if you see that they do for you.
It's only very recently that I've actively started shooting and thinking about my own art practice. Maybe in the last 2 years, 3 years. I'd always used a camera since I was about 15. I shot a lot of film in high school and in college. But when I started Endless Editions, I kind of gave all my energy to that, and also working at the print shop. And I only think recently, when I started realizing that at my SVA classes where I teach for a photo Riso class, that I could just show people how to print photos by printing my own photos, which began in a kind of waterfall. It was like a small leak broke open, and I hadn't made anything in 5 years. I hadn't made a book in 5 years, and I made 12 in 1 year. One at Knust, one at Resolve, one with Wilfred Wagner from Copenhagen, and then a whole bunch more. And I think mainly I side with George in thinking about how the Riso is such a unique tool that is so effective with very limited colors, and thinking about color in a printmaking way, which is not to like do a reproduction, but to create something truly unique to that translation of art to print or art to book, and really embodying those characteristics. So taking like colors that you wouldn't even think of mixing together and kind of printing with them, and just to see what it ends up turning out to look like a lot of times.
Yeah, I think, approaching the risograph with a background in printmaking allows you to really consider how to be additive and subtractive with it and construct images in really different ways than just translating a digital file through just CMYK process. It becomes a very different operation.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot, for the majority of humans, the most printmaking they do is they print from a laser copier. So they just hit right-click print. I think a lot of the reason why I like printmaking and making books and working with artists in a collaborative way where they're involved in the bookmaking and printmaking is because that process between right-click print and getting the print is demystified. You're like, oh, there's a lot of work and attention that has to be paid to if you want something to look nice and you do it yourself. Whereas when you're printing from like a laser copy, you're like, oh, well, maybe I'll just adjust the brightness of this, or, stick it on my refrigerator. Like, I can't tell the difference. But there is a lot of nuance in printmaking that I think is super beautiful. And what drew me to the Robert Blackburn printmaking workshop was like a dedication to that kind of energy. Bob was like a very meticulous printer, but also like a charismatic one that, actively sought out artists all over the world to come to his print shop, learn about printmaking, and also make their own prints. And he created a community that still lasts today, and some of his colleagues are still around, quite a bit older, but to hear all the people that worked with Bob and to hear that story was a lot of the reason why I came to Endless Editions, and a lot of the ethos that we put behind our practice are similar to those of the printmaking workshop.
That's exactly what I just wrote down as you were talking, is the ethos of Endless Editions being in really nice alignment with the ethos of the Blackburn Printing Studio. And can you tell us a little bit about how that relationship formed? Like, how is Endless Editions now housed in that building?
Well, it's a bit more organic than like structural. Like I don't think Endless Editions has ever signed an agreement ever, you know, other than like a tabling thing. We've always had our studios and our spaces in kind or in exchange. And when I started the Risograph education program here in 2015, by 2017, the popularity had risen so much, and I had gotten extra machines. I kind of just asked for a room here, and it just so coincided with the time that we were ending our studio in Newark, and I just moved everything else here. I didn't really tell anybody that it was happening, and that's how it's existed. I mean, and I think a lot of the work that I do with Endless Editions kind of aligns with you know, supporting awareness of the print shop, taking classes at the print shop, becoming a part of the community. And I do think that a lot of the work that Endless Editions does, while it is focused on books, it's more concerned with the people involved. And it's not necessarily concerned with the people that are directly working on Endless. It's like everybody, you know, it's George in Grand Rapids, Seb and Lindsay in Pennsylvania, Anki in Bergen. It's everybody, you know, really being concerned about how everybody is doing and involving them in any way that we can. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that a lot of what I wanted to talk to you about was also just teasing out some of your interest and your dedication in this community, not just the Riso printing community and not really just even the larger printmaking community, but you have a large part of your practice that is dedicated to education and to bringing new people into the process to open up new ways for them to think about how they can distribute their work and how they can put their work out there into the world. Yeah, and you've also done a lot of work with book fairs.
Yeah, we put on a book fair.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard you speak very passionately about making opportunities for younger generations of printmakers. And I know that's an incredible thing. And I want to know how this urgency and dedication to the community really developed with you.
I mean, I'll try not to be too pessimistic about it. But it was kind of, all of this was born out of like a frustration of not being able to participate or having like barriers to participate. And I think we can all agree that publishing books isn't a lucrative business. And I think a lot of us work in other careers or do extra work to sustain this practice. And for me, it was a realization that while making a book and realizing it with an artist is an incredible experience where you take their ideas and create something new with it and then share it with the world. And if it's received well and put into collections, like that, it affects the artist like quite significantly. It's not going to be a big financial gain to them. And for me, it's kind of these longer lasting relationships where we succeed together or rise together is more rewarding and important. And I don't think that's possible without having future generations continue in this work, without more people becoming interested and participating. This whole ecosystem kind of dies, very similar to David Attenborough's ideologies of creating more biodiversity for the safety of the planet. If we don't have a biodiversity of Riso printing or publishing, you know, it becomes a really insular and corporate thing, which is like, I think the reason why we're all so interested in this and hear from around the world is because we don't feel that corporations represent the best part of humanity. And so it really excites me to find younger people that are interested in making something tactile and what would maybe be considered lo-fi or old tech. I distinctly remember doing a workshop with teens at the Met and over 80 different places that they could have hung out in, VR, drones. We had a room of like 80 kids waiting to run their comic or their mini zine on a copier, and some people through the 4 hours just stayed there all night, made multiple of them, and that was so cool. And the insights of the youth are much more poignant and important than ours. You know, as we get older, we become less and less important towards the vitality of the world. So, you know, hoping that they will carry the flag or carry the flame, so to speak.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely important. I think that's something that you and I share. And again, as both being educators and wanting that to be part of the mission, is opening it up to so many more people. There's something else you brought up yesterday, and talking about this larger community that we're all caring about and wanting to succeed. And you were talking about Hato growing up and going pro, and various other presses who have been able to make Riso printing their career, as well as a sustaining like creative practice. And I think a lot about how Endless Editions has grown and changed through the years as well. Like when I first met you, Endless Editions had a Riso machine in a basement of a Chinatown gallery. And now you're with Robert Blackburn, and you're also teaching at SVA. And it seems like the opportunities that you're able to build for the community through your growth is just gets it like exponentially larger and larger, especially when you take into account the Brooklyn Art Book Fair that you put together and making it go virtual to great success from everything that I hear.
Yeah, I wish somebody had told me that, you know, things weren't as like do or die. It was really stressful running that Chinatown space. And I remember like having multiple moments of like really late nights of despair and kind of feeling like it wasn't working out. But yeah, I mean, I think we are a story of luck and persistence. And I think in general, if you just keep on or keep at it long enough, you will become like edified in some way or some sort of organization. I don't consider Endless Editions any sort of organized unit. You know, we're all volunteers, and we'll leave emails unanswered for months. But when we decide to work on a project, you know, we all agree that, you know, we'll have weekly calls. These are the tasks to be done. And producing the book fair in 2017 was again born out of frustration, and the frustration had just shifted minutely. And a lot of Endless Editions is just asking questions and taking a unbiased view of what's already out there. And so, you know, when we first started, we saw a lot of books, artist books in New York that weren't made in New York. So maybe we could fit that gap. We saw a lot of artist books made in Riso, but they didn't do full color things or didn't use more than 2 colors. So maybe we could fill that gap. We saw a lot of publishing houses speaking about equity and equality, but they only publish white artists. So maybe we could fill that gap. And even here at the print shop, you know, I think if you look back at the publications that we made from 2004 until 2012, it was predominantly white people as well. And being a print shop that was focused or in remembrance of Robert Blackburn, you know, I just felt that that was wrong, and maybe that I could fulfill that gap. And the book fair was created for no other reason than maybe we thought that a fair could exist that didn't rely on the vendors to run the fair. A normal book fair or art fair is you pay to exhibit, and those fees typically offset the cost of the production of the fair to the organizers. I'm not saying that the organizers get rich off of it, but it does pay for the production of the fair. And the only reason why a fair is great is because you have great exhibitors. So, and also that really increases the barrier for newer and emerging presses to present their works. If you have to pay $200 and you have to pay for all your production and you have to pay for travel and housing, it becomes difficult financially to take on those risks without a guaranteed income or sales. You never know how the fair is going to go. So we created a fair with the idea of what if there was a fair that paid everybody to be there, that paid all the vendors, did the opposite. And so we did the first iteration in 2017 where it was free. And each year we worked closer and closer to aspiring to the goal. But each year the conversation continued, like, what is this? What is the point of this fair? What is our service of Endless Editions? That question never really exited, and it continues. And that's what allows us to change. There are no rules. There is no boss. Am I the director, or do I just keep it going? I'm not really quite sure. I really want everybody else to have stake in the projects that they work on with Endless Editions. And the online version was only created because LA was canceled. We could have canceled as well. And I think the first shutdown happened 2 weeks after we announced the applications to it. And in the beginning, the first shutdown was aimed to end the weekend we were planning the fair. And we were acting as if we were just going to run the fair in person still. And if it was bad, it was just bad this year. But then we also had a contingency plan of going online and just thinking about how that would look.
It's another moment where, like, we've spoken a lot about how the pandemic has affected people's practice and how it allows different opportunities to re-engage with the community. And I think that because of that timing that you just mentioned, it almost forced your book fair to be like a new model to look at for people, especially as we're all getting ready for the next Printed Matter virtual art book fair.
Yeah, I think Wei hit the nail on the head with his comment about distributing books to the location where the book fair is running, which is what we did. We sold the books and received them after the fair was over, and then did all the order fulfillment, which was really laborious and time consuming, but we just couldn't find a different way to run the model. If our organization is run on the ethos of like, easing the burden on the exhibitor or vendor, we're not gonna like ask them to do order fulfillment, when I don't even want to do order fulfillment, So, and I'm sure everybody at Van Eyck and shipping out all the Riso packages, it's just like not that much fun to do.
Well, PJ, I do want to make time, if you did want to show us the studio via your cell phone connection, if you wanted to do so. And also take a minute to apologize for pulling the conversation so far away from Riso specific, but I feel like so much of what Endless Editions does comments on the larger community that we're all involved in, and it's a good chance to pick your brain on some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, the Riso is just a tool. I love the tool, but I could live in other means for sure. But it is really exciting. Here, yeah, let me switch over. Here's my messy desk. Can everybody see this other video?
Let me see if it's pulled up on a different screen. Okay, yeah, 1 second. And there we go. Now we can all see.
So here's the computer that I'm looking at. And the lights go out when you're not working. So this is the book that I'm working on right now. It's by Jordan Nassar. Here's all our paper storage. We just had a big fan put in for COVID because we're... Oh, sorry, was I muted?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. We just had a big fan put in. Here's one of our Risos. Here's another book we're proofing right now by Eddie Perote. Caroline Paquitata, who presented in 2016, is working on her calendar. We got a chopper, some drums. Yeah, it's quite messy in here. And then...
That's how studios are.
If you go out the door...
Oh, I think you might have froze on us. There you go, you're back.
So here is the print shop. Nobody's here right now. We have, here's some prints that are getting picked up for some sort of fundraiser. These are all some litho stones. We have some litho presses, 3 large etching presses, processing room in the back. Here's our letterpress with all the certificates of Bob.
Yeah, it's such an amazing space. And PJ, you're
Jamal
starting to break up a
Robbins.
little bit for us.
Some Chikaya Booker works in here as well. We have all these COVID barriers now. Stones that are from Robert Blackburn's collection. This is our etching auditioning room. You can see works here by Francis Jetter.
Wow.
This is an image of Bob. Sleep press bed. And then in the back, we have our etching, or I'm sorry, screen print room. And this is actually where I first started teaching Riso, was right here in this corner.
Wow. Yeah, this is an amazing space to see, PJ. And also, while you're showing us around, I'm going to just remind everyone on YouTube and at the Zoom webinar that if you have questions for PJ and Endless Editions, please type them into the comment section. And once PJ gets resituated upstairs, we're going to be opening up to audience questions. And thank you for the tour. That's incredible to see. Welcome back.
I'm back.
We have a first question for you from Igor. First of all, Igor, thank you for asking. Thank you for being here. And he wants to know how playing chess influences.
Sorry, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, it's coming out.
Igor wants to know how playing chess has affected me.
Yeah, in your practice.
Oof, I don't know. Chess is hard. Chess is really hard. Many years ago, maybe 4 years ago, my friend Keith I saw him playing chess and I thought, so strange, who would want to play chess? Chess is so boring. And it was a very ill-conceived notion. And the more I looked into chess, I was like, okay, Keith is playing chess. I respect Keith's tastes. Maybe I should look into chess. And the more I looked into chess, the more fascinating it became to me. And I decided to host a chess tournament, never having really played chess before, because of this one really controversial tie-breaking rule in pro chess, like in the grandmaster level of chess. If they tie all the way, they go into this sudden death round called Armageddon. And Armageddon is blitz chess, which is timed, where black pieces have 4 minutes and the white pieces have 1 minute more. So they have 5 minutes on the clock. Now, black has advantage because if it draws or white runs out of time, it wins. Now, normally a draw is a tie. So white's only option to winning in this format is to checkmate its opponent or win on time, black runs out of time. And I thought, wow, these people, all the chess players are like, this is unfair. This is an unfair advantage for black. That black only just doesn't have to lose and run out of time. That's unfair. And I thought, wow, what a poetic representation of America. And so we hosted this chess tournament, and in my mind's eye, I thought, somebody who doesn't play chess is gonna win this tournament, and it's gonna really excite them, and they're gonna win all these artist books. Are you kidding me? It's so unfair. And the two people who were at the championship table were the best players in chess. And I was like, okay, there's something going on here that I don't understand. And that led me down the rabbit hole of like playing a lot of chess, losing a lot of chess. But I wouldn't say it has any effect on my Riso practice, but it has a lot of effect on my social life. Yeah, chess is great, but it's really hard.
Thank you. And Quintal, you have a really good question here. Do you mind unmuting and just speaking it?
Yeah. So as you said, like Riso is just a tool for me. What do you see as other good techniques or tools that you could use in the near future as you get such a great space? Even though not even just around the space, but like yourself, what do you see using to perfect or further your practice as an artist?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for like things that are within our means. And I think we just always try to live within whatever we can accommodate here. So we do have like some modest tools here that pretty much round out as much of a bookmaking workshop that I can make in this space. And I don't mean to like say Riso is a tool like it's lesser than, like you should love your tools. Like your tools are good. You should take care of your tools. And when you sharpen your tools, they work well, and you should know your tools very well as well. And being a person that uses tools well is a good thing. So it's just not a fetish object for me. Like I don't like look at a Riso and gush because it's Riso. I gush because of other reasons. Like I think Mark Fisher's practice temporary services is a great example of somebody that uses the Riso just to spread information, and the content is so good. Looking at it from a Riso standpoint is almost doing it a disservice. Like the content in the books is like really, really sharp. So what do I see for myself? Whatever's within my means. Currently, I'm like spending too much money into film and developing film and getting photos mounted and buying golf clubs and, you know, buying books from other people. So I'm not spending money on tools anymore.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, even though it's not like buying tools, but more like things that you can use as tools without paying for it.
Oh, that's a great point. I love wage theft. You know, I think Endless Editions would not exist without it. You know, the resources of the Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts has allowed us to do a lot of incredible things, including the book fair, including the incredible pizza party we host here every Friday night after the New York Art Book Fair. The foundation like buys 25 pizzas for people to come and eat here. You know, it's just free for everybody to come here and check out the studio. So it's really, yeah, I look forward to more corporate support that allows us to do that kind of stuff. I think that would be my next on the agenda, is like finding somebody to finance all of this stuff. And the books, you know, just make enough money to sell more, to make more books. You know, that's our only goal. And I was speaking to the Endless Squadron last week, and I just explained to them, you know, like, you know, money has never been the focus of this project. The focus of this project has always just been to make sure that we're doing more for the community than we're getting from it. And yeah, that's it.
That's great, thank you. Do Do you have any other questions from the panel for PJ?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. PG, seeing your equipment, it's not the most state-of-the-art equipment. And if I see the work you produce with it for the book, it's as if you are cherishing the lower quality of means you have. So what, and I think that's very good that you work with the possibilities you have in reach. But I was wondering, when you would have had state-of-the-art equipment, the latest, the best, the newest, would your work change?
So all of the photo books that I've made predominantly have been made at SVA, which have like really nice machines.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when I was working on this project with Wilfred, the way he approached it, I'm not a graphic designer either. So when he approached it by using the big dots and using like a little bit of a lo-fi quality, I really enjoyed that. And I really like the pause it gave me, the lower quality. So my photo books are pretty high res, and I like them because they're mostly 2-color. But yeah, I think the first time I ever saw a Riso, it gave me that pause of like, this is a little bit bad. It's not like perfect. It's definitely not to the standards that Resolve would put out, you know. but that's what gave me pause. I was like curious about it. It stopped me, and I think that low quality stopped me in the way that was charming to me, and I really liked that. Anything that's too polished, like this sweater, makes me nervous. It makes me feel like I'm going to ruin it. Not to say that I don't like it, but for me, that's where I feel the most comfortable. You know, I think I also feel the most comfortable in a kitchen, and you kind of have to be very comfortable with getting messy in a kitchen. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, PJ. All right, well, again, thank you so much for joining us and for showing us your studio and elaborating more on your practice and your process.
Thanks for having me. Really honored to be here amongst you all.
All right, thank you, PJ. All right, thanks everyone for bearing with us. I know that we're blowing through our time allotment here, but I think we were having some really good conversations. And next up, we do have Quintal Editions. Oscar is joining us. And before we jump into the conversation, I just want to give a little bit of background on your project to the group. Quintal is a graphic design and publishing studio based in Paris. It uses Riso as its main printing medium due to its easy and fast printing capability, as well as its potential to engage with experiments. Aiming to be as heterogeneous as possible in its form and printing technique, Quintal's publications are mainly based on long-term cooperations with various artists. So Oscar, thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks. It's an honor.
And where are you located at now? I'm
at the studio, so we had the chance to reopen 10 days ago because second lockdown went off, so it's nice. So I was really not closing the studio as I was moving in. I moved in August. It's a new studio. I used to be in a basement with other printers and stuff like that. So it's the first time we get our own studio. So it's nice. It's getting late now, so it's like dark outside, but during the day it's quite nice.
Yeah, no, it looks like a beautiful space, and it's nice to see all those colored drums receding into the background behind you.
I got those. Thanks, Corners, Resolve, Fidel, all the guys that did it before. Yeah, and sorry, we should have been 4 people, but Alexandra, who I work with, is teaching this afternoon, so she couldn't cancel this. And the 2 artists, one is working and the other one got some family issues, so we couldn't manage, but we should have been 4 people. So.
And actually, can you just briefly like name everyone who else that you're working with? You mentioned Alexandra, but
yeah, I'm working with Alexandra, who used to do an internship like a year ago, something like that, a year and a half. Now she's working with me, and there's Charlene that used to do an internship 2 years ago. That was my first intern. She was there for the summer, and now she's working with us part-time, and she might replace Alexandra as she's going to open a studio and develop a practice in southwest of France, like in 6 months, something. So yeah, we're kind of 2.5 now.
Excellent. But yeah, I think I would like to start with your contribution to the Magical Octopus book. Something really amazing that happens with the shifting narrative focus and subject between landscape, seaweed, and humans that gives the reader so much of a fractured parts of a narrative to build something from. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about the development of the images. And
so the main point was I'm really working in close end with Manon and Lisa, the two artists that work on this project with me. I was really lucky that they accept the project. It was a lot of time and work from their part. So the point was, first and for all, to join these two artists I'm really used to work with, but that never worked together for the last 3 or 4 years. They used to study together. So the point was to do a joint project, and they're really into narrative drawings and illustrations, mainly doing books. And the point was to create 2 narratives and then join them at the end. So they work on some rough, a rough story with some image, and then we do like rendezvous every week, and then try to copy past everything and then see and adjust all the works that they've been doing. This is only just the tip of the iceberg of all the drawings and stuff they've been making. And then gladly Yo accepted that we can do more pages, because we were kind of really tight on the 8 pages. So lucky enough we could make it to 16. So it's nice. Yeah, what else can I say? It was funny to say it's not like a really complex idea behind this. It was just to make it a bit playful and trying to bring a story in a really short amount of time, things that people could comprehend, as we get like a language barrier. That's why I was asking Cabinet Studio, because as we live in France, most of our publications are in French. We're trying to change that a bit, trying to introduce like leaflets with translation in English. But that has always been a problem, as we also travel a bit in Europe or Asia or the US to sell books. So it was kind of a problem for this project, as a lot of people were working on it. So we decided to just exclude every textual and information. So the challenge was more focused on the visual narrative than, text. But at the beginning, there should have been some text on the project.
I don't know if you need opening text for this. And I think I absolutely love this contribution to the book. In a way, I actually had a hard time formulating questions about it, because it forced me to pin down exactly what it was that I liked about the images themselves. And I found that to maybe too numerous to condense into like one question. So part of it is the line work of some of these images that are drawings. Some of it is like the grain of the images that feel like they're more built from a computer or digital process. But I think a large part of it is actually the narrative space that you open up in the pages of the book. So there's the dissonance between the 2 types of imagery, but there's also just more space, to be very blunt about it, there's just more white space around the images. And I think that because it is absent of text, it gives us, the viewer, like more space to project into and construct this story.
All right, great. Then that was the aim of it. So it's nice. Glad you see it that way.
And then also with the way that you're talking about the project, and developing these long-time relationships with specific artists and taking the opportunity to join these two specifically. I'd like to hear you talk a little bit more about the importance of continuing relationships with artists and how you find people that you work with.
Especially with Lisa and Manon, is that we're quite complementary, as I am a graphic designer before being a printer. So, and they're really just illustrator. They don't have like basic graphic design notion. And so we tend to really work hand in hand from the beginning of an idea to making a book. And that was the thing we were doing on this project. I wasn't just the printer or publisher. I really was also into exchanging with them, and they are quite easy to get along. So we got a good connection, and that's mainly the focus of the publishing house to work on more than just one project. We start with like small zines to see how we can exchange, and then if the exchange is interesting, we go for a bigger project where we can spend more time. So actually, we were doing a small zine out of the Magical Octopus thing, and the girls that works on it were really into making a bigger project for next year. So I might keep you posted for that. But that's a good example of it. Small projects with few pages that might brings to I don't know, something else. So
that's great. I love that approach because it does allow you to take like risks at scale and to grow projects in different ways and start off with a small zine, but then see how the artists that you're working with takes the process and start to develop their own language through it. And I believe you also had your question about language, but also about different scenes in different areas. Or different communities in different areas. And I confess to being completely ignorant as to what the Riso community is or much of the small press community is in France. And I was wondering if you could speak on that a little bit.
Oh, it's really nice. Actually, Vincent from Studio Fidel, the other Riso guy in Paris, should have been part of the project, got some bigger issue with like Lebanese super project they done with his girlfriend, so they had to quit the project. But he should have been there. We're really good buddies, so it's nice. And there is I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 studios in France, and it's a really good and nice environment. We almost all started together like 3 years ago. For those who are still printing, they were like old guys, but they quit like 3 years ago to do something else. Some do the ones in the middle of France, papier machine. I actually put a list. I will send it at the end of the conference. But I put a list of interesting Riso people invested in France, like printers, artists. I will send it at the end. But there is like papier machine, one of the oldest printer in France. Now they're, I think, doing beer. So sometimes, people change and do other things. But they were the people that we were looking up when I started the Riso thing. I brought the Riso with my twin brother at first, and so we were printing in my mom's garage. I think she's looking right now, so I'm just saying hi. So that was we were really into exchanging with all those older guys and girls. Especially these guys and another one in Paris, and they were really helpful as I didn't have any Riso experience. I just bought a machine, never printed before, and so I had to deal with it. And the great community actually on Facebook and the social media was really helpful. Big up to also Thomas from the Kijm. That was, I think, the biggest helper for all my problems with my MZ and A2 machines. So yeah. In France and in general, Riso community is great. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you had a graphic design background, but when you took that leap and bought your first Riso with your twin brother, why? Why did you take that upon yourself? What was it about the Riso process that you wanted to get involved in?
Actually, yeah, the story is quite funny because I used to sell plants with my mom and my twin brother, and we wanted to do some posters. So that was actually not really related to my graphic design career. So I was just like helping my moms out with a small family business. and screen printing was so expensive. And then we like to do, you know, everything by ourselves. So this kind of do-it-yourself came in quite early, like 3.5 years ago. And so, yeah, Riso was kind of the evidence, because you can start it in like 3 square meters room. Doesn't need like a lot of cleaning. So it was a perfect technique to start to produce things. And then I get into this world of Riso and self-publishing, and then met a lot of people at book fairs, and I just get in love with the whole thing. I couldn't pinpoint like one specific thing that I really like about it, but as say PG a few minutes ago, it's not really just the Riso. I think it's just the possibility to do things easily. For me, Riso, that's the main point. I can just, if I get an idea, I can just print it. Really easy. I want to do a book, I can just stay up all night and printing the books. So I kind of like it. So mainly the point. And then now I just kind of need to make it sustainable. So we do print commission. So kind of pain in the ass, actually, but we still need to do it, especially with COVID. But yeah, that's all. I kind of got lost, but.
No, I mean, I love that this started by wanting to produce more advertisements and things for the plant business with your mother, and that kind of supporting a family business is pretty incredible. I'm glad that
there was a short story, actually, really bad business plan, but that was nice. That was getting me started with all those things, so I don't regret it. Good story.
And how many artists are you working with now? It seems like you do have a small stable of collaborators that you're constantly working with. And so I guess 2 questions. 1, are you still working with your mother? And 2, how many artists have you expanded to work with?
So I'm not working with my mom, but she's still a good advice when I got any problem. So a call time to time. Actually, I was talking to her last weekend about getting help for like more marketing stuff, as I'm really, really bad at it. You know, like selling the things that we produce. I just like printing things, and then once it's produced, I'm not really interested in like, you know, getting ways to sell it. So she might help me on this. So maybe soon collaboration. Do you have any interest? I'll answer the question after. Sorry, I just read some. And as for the artists, we got like maybe like 15 or 20 artists we were working closely with. And at the beginning, it started with really simple posters exhibition, as it was a good way for me to pay back for the machines I bought and the drums and stuff. And then after, it goes on with all the artists that were really interested in collaborating with me and now Alexandra. So it kind of became a really natural process with people. Like most of the artists we're working with are friends and people that we really like to spend just time with them, not just working, you know, like just chilling, hanging, going to exhibitions and stuff like that. And then it became a good groundhole for collaborating on more artistic projects. So, yeah.
Great. I do want to remind everyone that if you do have specific questions, please do type it into the chat. I did want to read something for you. This is specifically from Meek. Does the seaweed monster have a name, and will the story continue? So I know it's speaking on behalf of the artists you're working with.
Yeah, I'm going to speak on behalf, but we talk about it. They got some little names. I don't have them, but when they wanted to make a bigger story, there was kind of one seaweed that would have been the main character of the story, and not just like seaweeds in general, but one is in particular. So yeah, they get some little names.
Great. And Anfia has a really good question, something that I was thinking about as well. They're curious as to whether the prints were printed from digital files or if they were scanned from hand drawings.
Yeah, all hand drawings, yeah. Paintings and pastel drawings. And then we scan it, and then I do the color separation. That's kind of my new passion in life. Yeah, so we do a lot of testing, and we wanted to tend to a non-colorful results. We really want a brown and beige, not effect, but yeah, the final, we wanted to have we're kind of, what do you say that? Sorry, my English is a bit rusty. We're kind of, how do you say that? Sorry. Yeah, we just wanted non-fluorescent results.
Yeah, well, it creates like such a nice soft
Well,
and
like really flashy colors, and so for this project, we really wanted something that was close to the earth. You know, as all the materials we get were really in the brownish and beige tones. We wanted to keep it that way, so they work at the beginning with this in mind.
Yeah, I think again, like some of the approach to color was something that I was really reacting to, and just we've been talking about love of landscape, and just an image like this, I could live with for a long time. So please give my appreciations to the artists.
Yeah, she will come back tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow afternoon she will be there, because we're working on a new project there. I will do a tour afterward, but on the big piles of paper is a big project we're working on for a year now. So it's, yeah, tomorrow it's finished. The printing, not the binding.
That's excellent. And from Cabinet, are you able to make a living from the Riso studio?
The Riso studio is living by itself. That's already good. So Alexandra is getting paid. Charlene too. I'm not getting paid out of the Riso itself, but all that gravitate around the Riso. So teaching, a lot of teaching, workshop, and yeah, that's all. But it's nice. I'm buying a lot of stuff. That's why I'm not paying myself, but I'm really like Riso A2 drums, collating machine last week, stitching machine 3 weeks ago. Every time I get some money, instead of paying myself, I just bought new machines. And I don't like loans, so I prefer to have my own machines, because I don't know what I'm gonna do next year. So I prefer to say that I just have the rent to pay if tomorrow I want to quit the Riso printing thing, or you know. So yeah. So it's not really my main income, but everything gravitates around it.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the workshops? I'm sure that everything's changed now because of the pandemic, but are you still able to have workshops, or are you handling it?
Yeah. Still working. On Saturday, we got a workshop. We had to cut down the participants, so we got maximum 4 people at a time. You know, so everyone can have his own space during the day. It's a full day, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. or depends on the people that comes, but yeah. So it didn't change that much, except for the fact that we have less people, and then we need to be a bit more cautious. But yeah.
And Sigrid asks about book fairs in France.
Oh, that's the big problem. We don't have that much good fairs. There's one during the Angoulême festival, the comic festival in Angoulême. So it should have been in January, but it's moved to this summer. And there is a off festival during this festival that is called Spin-Off. They're a good friend of mine. They actually started a Riso studio called Ibu Print Club. I'll write it down at the end of the conversation. This one is really good because it attracts a lot of people from the comic festival. So it's a good way to sell books in France. And then you get off-print that you also have in London, that is organized by the entity that is a photo festival in south of France. And so this is in November and April in London. So those two are pretty good for us. And there is also a Plus de l'Illustration is really illustrated centered book fair, not really Riso, just illustration, that is actually happening this weekend with half online, half real life market. But yeah, fairs are a bit crappy in France. We got some things to do. I really wish we could organize things with like big entities. We're working with a lot of institutions and stuff, and maybe they can help us someday to organize or put up something. Not as big as New York Art Book Fair, because it is massive, but a small thing. I really wanted to do like a Riso centered fair in Paris. That would be great, but COVID is here, so we'll see. Maybe in 2 years.
Yeah, I was about to say, whenever you can, it seems like you have to take on the work of starting your own. You did mention being able to maybe show us your studio before we wrap up. And while I do like one last call for questions, do you mind showing us around the space?
So this is the studio. Sorry, it's a bit moving. It's quite clean. We cleaned it this morning. And then we got the super nice view now. It's in front of a really old church. I'm just going outside. And then you get like, it's raining a bit, so I might not stay. But this is the view from my studio. Is we get really big church. So it's nice. And then we got this bookshelf, pink bookshelf, with all our books. A lot of light coming in the morning. T-shirt press and all the prints for the day, some pieces and this book we're working on with one of the artists.
Yeah, Oscar, the audio started to go a little bit.
Oh, sorry, do you hear me?
Yes, yeah. I think your hand might be on the microphone or something.
And this is the Riso A3 from. So I got it wrong on one of the on the side, so I need to fix that. We got this one is the last one we received last week. It's collating, stapling, bending, and cutting at the edge. So it's nice.
Wow.
Are nice A2 Riso. They're really beautiful. And those are our.
Put your hands over the microphone again.
Oh, sorry. You
sorry
hear? Yeah, sorry. So A2 machine and MZ7777. This one is the one I had in my mom's garage, but it's like broken. I need to repair it. But I'm quite lazy. It's been like 1 month. So yeah, and then after we got, is it all right? You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
We were doing like some print stands for next weekend because we want to do a small weekend to sell things for Christmas. The bookshelf, new kitchen, and then there you got a real mess. That's why everything is clean on the other side. So we got some people renting a desk here working. Charlene is here. She's right, and John is here observing a bit. And then we got all the paper here. So and inks on the back there. Really nice. So yeah, small tour.
Oh, it's an amazing space. Thank you for sharing it with us.
And yeah, and a lot of plants.
Well, yeah, I should hope so.
Yeah,
especially with the beginnings of your press.
Yeah, yeah. And we used to be in a basement like 6 months ago, so no lights, no plants. So I kind of balanced with too much plants afterward.
It's great to see you getting out of the basement and having a great view and some light for some plants. And it's wonderful to see all the work.
It's nice. It's good seeing everyone, actually. And there is even the big boss in Riso, France. Hi.
Yeah, Oscar, again, thank you so much for sharing your studio with us and your work. Great. All right, and now we're going to be bringing Meek back in for some catering.
Well, as well, Rutger is also from the catering. I just wanted to say because yeah, we prepared again something for you for today.
Excellent. Wow. Another incredible looking dish.
There was some sound as well, but I don't know. It is lost between here and Maastricht. There was a lot of scratching and waves again, but yeah, enjoy it.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the recipe?
Yeah, so actually this is a fresh cheese. You don't need any fire or something complicated. A cool place, and then you need a little bit of time because it will take one day at least. And the taste is very almost like truffle, or a bit. Imagine lemon and truffle together. It's a very savory seaweed. It's as you've seen, it is one of the most tiny ones, and it only grows in the wintertime. Well, really well, yeah. There's one rock where I know that it grows, and the first trial we were a bit late. Yeah, but then we could find it then the day after. Would love to show you now the sheep that are passing our window from the neighbor. There's a whole, but it is too dark already. There was a whole bunch of at least 100 sheep running on the road.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much. Again, making all of us hungry.
I can share the recipes as well later with you, so I will do that.
Yes. I think because we are running a little bit long on time right now, I will ask that any other comments about the catering may be reserved for the final question and answer session, if that's okay with you two. Great, thank you. All right, so our final interview of the day is with ROM Press, and I'll pull you into the spotlight here. So thank you for joining us. Before we get started, I will again introduce your press through the book text. And ROM Press, at the end of 2013, artists Miguel Angelo Martins and Laura Pilar Delgado founded a risograph printing studio and began an independent publishing project in Salamanca. ROM Press focuses on providing service and advice to such students and professionals as artists, graphic designers, curators, and academics. ROM Editions also publishes art projects that are conceived as a book. So again, Laura and Miguel, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing? Yeah, so I guess.
I'm okay. I'm fine.
Fine.
And where are you joining us from? Or where are you at right now, presently?
We are at home.
We are home because our studio is in a basement, and the connection is I don't know if we can show some images of the studio.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
Are you able to share your screen? We might need to add you as a co-host.
This is our studio.
A small space.
We have the paper, our laptop,
laptop, and
this is our duplicator, and
yes,
code machine.
Code machine and the whole machine and.
Oh wow.
This is
This machine MC 9070, 9070, yeah.
Okay. Or
Or
coffee space.
coffee space.
One of the most important spaces is the coffee space.
Sí. This is all. That is all.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing your space with us. I'm glad that we were able to see some photos, even though you're not there presently. Yeah, I wanted to start by talking about your contribution to the Magical Octopus book, as it is another example. I think everyone's submissions are so unique, and this one as well. And we've been talking a lot about landscape during the conference and the mapping of territory and the relationship of language to landscape. And it seems that in your work for this book, you're almost recontextualizing or exploding the language of maps and designs. So there's still an articulation of space. There's still like a ground and plane that you're relating to. But it's almost taking apart this other diagrammatic language to build something new. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the thought process that went into producing this work.
Okay. When we received the material from Nick, we were seeing, reading, analyzing the text and the images. We were reading about the tide and the movement of the water and the color of the algae. And we were also looking forward to images related to movement. I don't know if we can show 5 images.
Yes.
5 images.
Okay.
Yora.
The first image is a text by Edward Malbridge.
This is bien o no? This is por bien ahora. Funciona.
Sí, no está bien.
Okay.
The second image is glasses of 60s. The third image is textile of 60s. The 4 images Dynamis of a Dog by Giacomo Ballon. He's an Italian futurist artist. This image appears in the book, like as a fragment in our contribution.
Yeah.
The 5 images is a little sage.
It's principio, no?
This is the beginning
of
a book.
So this is all some that you're like pulling some visual references from to help produce some of your contributions to the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon.
Even with that, we can see your attention to pattern, shape, and texture.
Yes, déjame. The second and third page of our contribution arise from this book. It's a visual dictionary of plants. ¿Cuál es la página?
No sé. Sorry. Aquí, ya está.
I don't know if you can see.
Okay, yeah.
This is the line.
We use in the
Sí, we use only this line.
Excellent. Yeah. So you're able to pull not just from the information that Meek gave you, but also pulling references from other sources.
We beginning to play with
no sabría.
Vale. With these elements, with maps elements, points, numbers from oceans current.
Yeah, so it's nice to see you pulling in some of these elements from maps that can describe movements of oceans, and some things almost that seem almost like descriptions of weather systems. And by using like a really sparse language, you're able to get to a lot, actually. And I was wondering if we can talk a little bit about maybe what led you to this point, and going back to the beginning, Laura and Miguel, when did you start working together for ROM Press? And did this collaboration start just when you founded the press, or did you have a design background prior to starting this project?
Quando iniciamos e quando abrimos, quando começamos o projeto de ROM.
It was in 2013. In the beginning of this year, we discovered the Riso. But well, in the middle of the year, we bought the cable.
And when you started, was there a large Riso community? Or
Havia comunidade grande?
No.
It's a small.
No, very small. Yeah.
Very small.
Yeah, and we cover the printing to a book in Germany.
Qual?
El libro de textos 3.
Sim,
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah, in Spain there isn't. There isn't.
It's very difficult for us to speak.
No worries. We can talk. We take it slow. And I'm happy to repeat anything. Just as long as you're comfortable and we're able to talk a little bit about what you're working on, then that's good.
Yeah.
And
dizer como é que descobrimos pouco.
Well, eso que.
Vale.
we discovered the printing through a book printed in Germany. But in Spain, I saw, I think there was 2 duplicates in Spain only.
Oh, wow. So I guess, can you tell us a little bit about some of the concerns that people have been talking about previously? Is ROM Press a independent project? Are you able to work with your graphic design and your printing as a way to support yourselves? Or are you also working other jobs on top of this?
¿Crees que el diseño gráfico ayuda en nuestro proceso de trabajo?
In our contribution,
Sí, sí. Se nos ajudou na construção do livro, das páginas do livro.
I think, no? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's important, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is very important.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, my apologies as the American as well. My language skills beyond English are very poor, and I wish that we could meet in the middle in a better way.
Okay.
Sigrid Callan actually mentioned the use of color paper in your contribution is partially striking because I believe you're the only people who printed on a paper other than white, and we're talking about this as a really great choice to highlight some of what you're working on.
In the beginning,
sí.
we pensávamos sempre que o livro ia ser colorido.
Excuse me, guys. Monica, the Brazilian interpreter, said she could translate the Spanish if you would like.
That would be.
You could go to the channel.
Perfecto.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just because she sent this message, and as we have the channel here, maybe it would be good.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
Okay. So she will go. We have to go to the Portuguese channel to listen to her. Okay. So you can speak here in Spanish, and the other ones who don't speak Spanish, just go to the Portuguese channel because Monica will translate for us. Okay?
Perfect, yeah.
I'm going there because I don't speak Spanish, unfortunately. Yeah.
¿Y qué comienza tú? En castellano.
¿Podemos hablar entonces?
Sí.
Yeah, and maybe. Yeah, and feeling free to speak in Spanish.
Monica has come to the channel. Can you hear her through here?
I cannot, no.
Okay.
Okay, sí, okay.
Is Monica over through the I don't know if we can get that audio channel through to the main Zoom webinar.
Okay.
Okay. But okay, so
foi assim, o papel surge desde um princípio. O papel surge de um princípio porquê? Porque queríamos realmente usar uma cor e não queríamos usar papel branco. Significaria que tínhamos uma cor e tínhamos uma cor de papel. E para nós era suficiente. Este contraste, não? Não dizes? Sabíamos desde um princípio, ou intuíamos, não? Intuíamos que ia acontecer, que havia muito colorido. Imaginámos, não? Muita cor, e dizemos, não podemos usar muita cor. Algo muito. Sim, isso. Queríamos, e queríamos que a primeira página também, e a última página, a primeira como a 8, seria uma entrada e saída, não? Fosse mais
puente.
um ponte, não? Uma ponte, não um ponte. Uma ponte para,
Otras
para,
contribuciones.
para outras contribuições, claro, para outras contribuições. Pensamos um pouco nisto tudo, não? Pensamos um pouco nesta ideia, sim. E a claridade também, queríamos claridade na ideia, sim. E também estamos habituados a trabalhar nesta linguagem. Esta linguagem é um pouco a forma de trabalhar também, não? Não, sim, é um pouco isso.
Normalmente en nuestras publicaciones en Raw Medicine podemos trabajar con una tinta negro o de un color, con un papel blanco o de color.
É uma cor, um único tom,
Sí.
tom. E claro, isso. Quanto ao papel, não?
Sí.
Quanto ao papel, eu penso, foi um pouco isso, não? Foi uma intuição um pouco, foi a intuição de saber que sabíamos que esta razão, sim. Queríamos claridade, transparência, sim. Como falávamos muito também da água, da transparência, toda essa ideia foi um pouco isso. Em relação ao papel, sim.
Thank you. And I will say I only figured out how to access the English translation just a second ago. So Monica, thank you so much for making that happen. And for everyone who's on the Zoom webinar, if you had the same problem that I had, in your bottom right-hand corner, there's a globe that you can click on to access translation. So here at the end of our day, you've saved us with your amazing translation skills. Thank you. So Ram Press, again, it's great to be able to just communicate a little bit easier now. And thank you for talking a bit about your paper choice. And I was wondering if we could back up again and kind of talk about your history, because you've been working together with Ram Press as an object or as a project, but I'm wondering about your individual histories with graphic design and printmaking prior to Ram Press. Like what brought you two together to be working together on this project?
O que é que nos ha acercado? Sim, podes.
Nosotros nos conocimos en la universidad de Valencia. Nosotros nos conocimos hace 10 años. Estudiantes.
Como? Sim, já está, não?
Sí.
¿Nós?
Sí, está bien.
Okay.
Que nosotros nos conocimos hace 10 años estudiando en la Universidad de Valencia.
Great.
Y Miguel un día me contó que quería en un futuro, o que le gustaría en un futuro, montar una editorial.
Pero não sabia nada não sabia que era uma editorial, não sabia bem o que é. E a nossa universidade se dedica bastante aos processos de impressão, como
Sí.
pode ser a xilografura, a lito, todos os meios de impressão.
Sí.
E o papel nesta universidade é muito importante. O papel que o papel tem é muito importante, não? E os livros. E o papel sempre foi e o papel que a universidade, o papel é muito importante para a universidade, não?
Ellos hacen muchas actividades en torno al
livro.
And you mentioned
E havia uma assinatura, e havia uma cadeira ou uma assinatura que era o livro de artista, e nessa cadeira, essa cadeira, esse professor trouxe um dia Christopher Killer e Peter Pillar, e para falar e para debater sobre o livro, sobre a edição e tudo, mas eu não entendia nada realmente sobre, porque não entendia a língua, não entendia o inglês, não podia. E isto marcou-me, no fundo, marcou-me de alguma maneira. E marcou de alguma maneira, e foi a partir daí que eu disse a Laura, porque não montar uma editorial ou montar isso. E foi a partir daí que surgiu.
Pero eso fue ya después, en 2013.
2013.
That's great.
Sim,
Can you
2013
tell us a bit more about what you are publishing and your publishing practice?
Ahora estamos con una publicación. Es pequeña.
Uh-huh.
Miguel es el que puede contar un poco más.
Não provenimos não provenimos do design, não somos designers, não somos impressores, não somos impressores, dedicamos mais à pintura, era mais pintura e um pouco de gravura. E gravura. E depois um dia aconteceu que descobrimos uma publicação em Madrid, e começámos a analisar a publicação e a ver, e vimos que havia algo, a maneira como estava impressa, não? A forma como estava. E começámos a pesquisar, a procurar na internet o que era esta impressão de tipografia, não sabíamos o que era. E por fim descobrimos e começámos a foi a partir daí, tínhamos a máquina e a partir daí começámos a editar, a fazer os nossos projetos.
And doing our own projects. Because it was just so hard for us. Printing in Spain was very hard. And to get to the mechanical ways of doing things. Yes, because this is it. And so why couldn't we do that ourselves instead of getting someone to do that for us? Let's just start editing and self-publishing.
That's excellent. And it seems like the acquisition, by having your own machine, you're able to do this for yourselves and able to be printing the work that you want to be printing and publishing. And we also have a question from Sigrid Callan as well, asking if you produce work for others on commission for hire, or do you only produce and publish the work that you want to be making?
Sí, la parte, el estudio de impresión Riso que da servicio.
The press studio in Riso, we are sometimes sharing this to be published somewhere else. I can say this. I can explain this.
Nós publicamos tudo.
We publish everything.
Publicamos,
We
desculpa,
print
nós
everything.
imprimimos tudo.
We print everything. Let me rephrase this.
Até cartaz, até
Whether it's a poster or a post or a card or other considerable publication on big projects, we print just about everything. Apart from the round press, we do other things. We don't have it separate. Due to the COVID, COVID didn't have stopping our work.
Nós vivíamos realmente sem incluso com mais frequência, não?
We used to do that more frequently, I'd say.
Não paramos realmente de imprimir, realmente não paramos.
But not only printing. I don't know if I was clear enough. I don't know if I've answered your question, Sigrid. I don't know if I have answered your question. We have parts, which is one round press. But we print everything. And we also work on our editorial project.
Right. And can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now? What's in the works?
Editions, press.
Editions, press. What else?
Or yeah, what are you working on publishing next?
Como era? What was that? What we are going to work with next? Is that it? We are publishing some small editions of small projects, like envelopes. These small projects, small things, very simple things for now. At first, we used to have large projects, but now we are working on small stuff. And little by little, things will change, and we'll probably get back to the big things.
Great, thank you. I also want to mention that Sigrid and Yo both are bringing up a book by you, Miguel. They say the one with the lines is very beautiful, and they're both enjoying it. And Sigrid also says that she hopes you make time for your own work, and she loves your conceptual approach.
Obrigado. Obrigado a todos.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for the translation work to make this all happen. What I'd like to do from here is I would like to open this up to...
Eu poderia aproveitar que há uma
But I use
disponibilidade.
the opportunity that there's some availability for me to speak Portuguese a little bit. And about this connection, I know that we're far from over and above the time. And being here with Faísca, all of these Magical Riso work is being broadcasted in Brazil and through YouTube in Portuguese. I have some hard time talking in English, so I'm speaking Portuguese here. I'm being translated, and I can speak my own language. And I would like to thank every one of you and studies and studios in Brazil are following and interacting with us. This is just so beautiful. And in Brazil, it is happening. Just want to thank for this great connection we are making, and with this translation Trado Points is carrying out with Monica and Claudia. So I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity. I just wanted to finish with one thing. Magical Riso is about books, make friends. This is what Magical Riso is about.
Yes, absolutely. That's amazing. And Helen and Monica, thank you so much for helping out with us and for being here. And Ron Press, thank you so much for your work.
Obrigado a você, porque foi a maneira de podermos falar pouco.
This was one way we could express ourselves here. So thank you very much for this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. And from here, I'm going to open it up to question and answers. And bring in the entire group for us to be talking together. And to bring things back to some of the questions that were being asked throughout the day, some people had asked about the particular risograph scenes in each individual country, each of our locations, and not just the risograph scene, but the individual presses and our ability to interact with Riso as a company. And the other thought that we were left with was a larger discussion about the ecology of and ecological concerns of Riso printing. And I'm opening this up for anyone to really tackle any of those issues. And if someone doesn't take the mic away from me, I'm going to call on someone. And George, are you volunteering?
Yeah, so I think one of the big ecological issues that I don't think anyone has really successfully answered is what the hell to do with all the ink tubes without some kind of recycling program or return program. Or I just feel like I keep holding on to these ink tubes because I can't recycle them locally, and I don't know what to do with them. And I feel like there could be some sort of global solution to this, but I don't know what it is. But that's one of the big ecological things that's been on my mind with regards to the use of Riso and the waste material. It's nice that there is, in a way, limited waste material and limited electricity use, but there is a lot of plastic waste in the format of the master material being plastic and one-time use, and then also the ink tubes that we go through. I don't know what to do with them. So I just wanted to open that up as a topic of discussion while we're talking about the sort of ecological nature of Riso. I think this is a big hole in the system, and it would be great to see some kind of recycling program or take-back program from Riso itself so that they could reuse the tubes and reformat them. But yeah, I'm at a loss of what to do, and I'm going to move studios at some time in the next year, and I don't want to move 300 tubes of ink, but that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, thank you, George. That's a really great point. And I also don't know what to do with the empty tubes, and they're just building up in my classroom. I know that Resolve has made some koozies with them, but we can't use them just for holding our beers.
It's a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can drink seltzer too. It doesn't have to be beer. But yeah, we were wondering about that too. That'd be a really great program, if possible, is to have a take-back program for the tubes, because there's no reason why you couldn't reuse them. Yeah. They can re-chip the tubes and then refill them. It wouldn't be a big deal at all. So that's a really good point. That would be great if that was a thing that could happen.
Yeah, we have mountains of
we save them all.
unused tubes also.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest hole in the Riso claim to green, the way that the tubes are distributed.
And if you want, there is some solution also. It's not really like returning the tubes, but especially in the Netherlands, they got a initiative called Precious Plastic, and they give a lot of tutorials though to recycle your own plastic with homemade machines. You should check it out. It's really interesting. We don't have the time to do that, but if people have time, I would gladly see the results, because it's quite interesting. I've seen some result of reused plastic elements, and really nice results. And not just like cutting apart a bottle, but really redoing something else, like doing objects. And
yeah, I guess we have to send all our tubes to handsaw, I guess, because they do take the tubes back in Japan. So everyone send their tubes to handsaw, and then
at the end of the year, we'll just send one big shipment of empty tubes to handsaw from the US.
Just send them back to all the suppliers.
Yeah, in the States, there's one in my town. There's one, the way that the distribution network is in the US, there is a distributor at least in every state. Riso has the infrastructure to take these back because they have the infrastructure to get them to us, but they don't have any pressure. And I would like to see something done. Riso always leaves before we get to the question and answer, I notice.
I know.
This happens every year, even in person.
I do.
Tomorrow morning, I'll start with a list of demands, and we can put it to them right at the beginning of the day. But that's a really good point. I also actually just this morning got an email from another studio in Richmond, and this is not to do with the plastics recycling. They do have a technical question that I promised that I would put out to the group. And they have an RZ390, and they're trying to change the color of one of their drums, and they're having a D-04560 error code, and they're having problems with it, and they've called Halligan's to try to get help.
It's super easy. I can type in the codes in the chat.
Great, thank you. I will send it along to them.
Yeah, just enter those into the machine, and then it'll reprogram the drum so that you can run the color. And tell them to join the Riso Facebook, and you can search the Facebook posts, and a lot of the questions that they might have will probably be on there. And actually this summer, we made like a community buyer's guide. So if anybody is like curious about getting their own Riso, we've already started like a cooperative document that like goes over a lot of the beginner questions for people who want to buy machines.
Super beta. Still needs work, but it's a good starting place. And if anyone wants to contribute to it, that would be very, very helpful. Particularly the regional information like MDs and stuff that we don't even know about. And also a quick plug, all of those commands that he just typed in are on stencil.wiki on the color converting article.
Great, thank you. And is stencil.wiki also where the buyer's guide is?
No, that's in Google Docs right now. It's not really in a publishable format, but there's a link from the Risograph community Facebook group that Paul John started.
Great. And for those of us that are not on Facebook, is there a way to access that? Or I guess there's the Slack and Stencil Wiki.
Igor just added it to the chat, but you can also email me. And I think it says at the top to email me to add you as a contributor, so your name can be properly attributed. Otherwise, you're just anonymous. So
cool. Thank you, everyone. And just to plug that group, it's a art studio space called Studio 23 in Richmond, and they've really just started a Riso program, but they have a large screen printing facility and letterpress capabilities and studios for local artists in Richmond. So next time anyone's in Virginia, a good place to see. Does anyone have any other comments for perhaps for Meek's catering? Or is it just my stomach rumbling here as it's 12:30?
Well, maybe I think it's time to leave for today. Everybody's falling asleep. And besides that, Anna promised me a strong drink. I can't let her wait.
Slice of why?
No, it's Maastricht. It's eau de vie, made in the Jan van Eyck. Every year in the fall.
Send some samples with the books.
Yes, and then we are doing illegal things with it. And we have our own Jan van Eyck brandy. So that was a great tradition, and now I'm just up to that. So I will do that. And maybe it's good to say that it gets more fun every day, with this translation thing and all stuff and me catering. So we maybe could prolong it over the weekend, day 5 and day 6. I think, just make a full week of it. So I want to thank everybody for today. It was a really great day, and happy that Meek was there again. So I hopefully tomorrow there's no wind, but then we are also producing here our own recipe for a dessert of Meek. So for me, it was a nice day.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
We'll see you all tomorrow.
I'm just put it the list for some interesting studio. I'll put it in the discussion. And if you want a copy of the zine we made, just send us an email. I'm just putting the info now.
Great, thank you.
Send us your postal information, and we can send one of the zines we made out of the Magical Octopus project, if you want one. So just send an email with your info.
All want one.
Yeah, I definitely want one. I'll send you an email soon.
You have to reprint.
Yeah, we're working on it. After holidays, not now. I'm tired.
So bye, everyone.
Ciao, ciao, bye.
You too, bro.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.